Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Coffee and Ham Radio's Thursday night on the Coffee and Ham Radio's channel, back where it belongs.
That's right.
Mike,
whatever.
Losers. Just got to get that right out of the gate. They were taking bets on what color Columbia shirt.
What color Columbia shirt, correct.
And
well, at
they
least
were
your
guessing
neck's not
red.
down to your nipples.
You want to see my nipples? Is that what you're asking?
No,
I mean, I could.
No,
okay.
No.
I need super chats.
Listen.
I fixed that problem.
Woo! I know. He needs to listen.
Dodge that bullet.
I was giving you a compliment.
Thank you. I don't. Because my neck is not hanging down below my nipples.
Out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was a sad ham we saw earlier today that was dressed in ham armor. The ham armor that repels the ladies. It was working. So, what are we talking about tonight?
Definitely wasn't an ape shirt, that's for sure.
It is not a Columbia shirt. I have a collared shirt that I took off after I saw Mike's comment, and it wasn't red.
Yep.
I was going to full disclosure. The Columbia shirt's laying right over there. I took it off. I hate not wearing a collared shirt on camera.
Professional.
Sun today.
Right?
Ooh.
I don't look as good in a Bonneville t-shirt as Chuck does, and I don't have any Maiden shirts. My Skinner shirts are all long gone.
Long gone.
Yeah, my Skinner shirts died years ago, back in the 80s, man.
I thought that was some special shirt, a long gone.
No.
Leonard Skinner shirt.
My Skinner shirt, man. Free bird. That's right, Lon. Free bird.
Jim's not wearing a
Nothing's
collar.
free anymore.
Well, I mean, it has a little bit of a collar. It's kind of.
Plasma, welcome. Plasma, I got the message that you joined as a member of the Coffee and Ham Radio's channel. Thank you very much. If you guys would like to support the show, there's a link right below our pretty faces.
In the doodly-doo.
My pretty face, Jim and Chuck are here as well. That says join. If you click that button, you'll support all of our endeavors to bring you amazing radio shows. And eventually we'll have enough members where we can do that.
Yes, Plasma, we're back on Coffee and Ham Radios full time on Thursday night, I guess.
Yes. We got
the goal was to try to get me out of YouTube jail, which we did, and I actually got super chat, so I'm not a YouTube virgin anymore, I guess. I hadn't been a virgin since 1977, but
wow, do the math and you're like 41, 42 years old, so it's still illegal.
40? Son, I wish.
Could you imagine being 40 with the body you have right now?
I did not have this body at 40. Raphael, I like CCR just as well. CCR is fabulous. Skinner is more fabulous, but you know, Queen, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Journey.
All right, so tonight's show
We're going to start talking about music again.
The Icom 905, this new super high frequency radio that Icom has out. We'll talk about the Yaesu FT710, which is currently also in vaporware status in the US.
Yeah.
N4 VKF is asking, what is the YouTube jail? If you have under 4,000 watch hours and under 1,000 subscribers, YouTube restricts a lot of the things that you're able to do on the platform, the YouTube platform. And so we worked fairly hard to get Jim a bunch of subscribers and get him out of YouTube jail. And Jim worked very hard by producing lots of amazing content that would be enjoyable to our viewer base. And some of the things that are unlocked are channel memberships, super chats, ad revenue. And when you start having the ad revenue, YouTube they don't say this out loud. It's kind of like, what do they call it? Quotas for police officers. They don't say this out loud, but they're more willing to share your content because they get a piece of the action.
That's right. Boston. That's right, Phil.
You also get the ability to have community posts, and you get the ability to have a custom URL. Like mine is youtube.com/temporarily offline. And I think
that came before. Yeah. That comes before the 4,000.
These things unlock at varying levels, but I think you've unlocked all the unlockables at 1,000,
I think so.
4,000.
Yeah, my the video monetization, the ad revenue thing is on now, and then the super chats were on as of last Thursday. When we did the show on my channel, and then the other day. The membership stuff is turned on too. So, and I don't know what to do with memberships yet. I don't really have a plan. I've got like one membership and it's very low cost thing, and it's like support the channel. I love you. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll let you talk to me in Discord and I might pay attention to you more. Right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So for membership perks on a small channel like where we are right now, membership perks are you get a one-on-one meeting with the four of us once a month. So we talk for an hour privately. It's not on YouTube and it's members only. So you get a smaller audience and we can kind of laugh and tell inside jokes. There's a really good story that Jim likes to share once a quarter. So you definitely have to get in there and see that. Something about a rat. I'll just leave it at that.
That one?
Yeah, that one.
I love it when I get new audience on that one.
Yeah, and there is a private chat in the Discord that supporters and moderators are in, so you would get that benefit as well. And then that also helps with channel giveaways, and it helps with bringing more equipment in to share on the channel and share with more of the public, the masses, to get them interested in ham radio and better cameras and that kind of thing. Like my camera does this cool focus thing every so often, especially when I hide my face. And it's not going to do it now that I'm asking it to, but
too close.
There we go. It did it.
Yeah, and an interesting point that Steve makes, and I don't know about those two guys, but everything I've reviewed on my channel, with the exception of the little hat thing and the hotspot, I've bought. I mean, just like you buy it from Amazon. I don't got no special secret YouTube funding for that. So it'll help support the channel as well.
And we kind of joke about the YouTube income, but it works out. The YouTube AdSense revenue works out to be like a penny per view or something like that. So, it takes quite a while to get useful amounts of money out of YouTube. So it really comes down to spreading the channel's message out to more people, which then will attract more sponsors, which then brings more things in that we can share. Like the GD88 that we're going to be talking about tonight. This was a sponsored radio from Radiology. They sent this to me in exchange for all of the work that I'm doing to do power level testing and APRS functionality testing. I was doing that earlier tonight, sharing it with you guys what the menu systems do, showing you how to do code plugs on it, those kinds of things. Comparing the code plug software on this to the code plug software on the BTEC radios, those kind of things. That's what we do.
Right.
So, back in the charger. QRB radio.
And you've done how many videos have you done on the GD88 so far?
I've done
couple, 2, 3,
4 so far, and
4.
There's more in the can. They're actually working on new code plug software,
awesome.
So I got that today, and I haven't even literally today, like an hour ago, I got the new code plug software. It's in beta from them, so I can see it. I can give them some feedback on it. They can make some improvements based off of what feedback I give them, and then they're going to release it to the public after that. So.
I'm looking forward to that. I've looked at that radio and I came close to buying it, but I'm like, I don't need another DMR radio. No.
Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm sorry, Chuck.
I was like, you're like one of the creators of that radio now.
I am. And
what should have happened with the 6100? Exactly.
This radio here, the Radiology GD88, is a white labeled Kydera UV880, I think. And Kydera is a very small company that a lot of us probably haven't heard of. And they were extremely interested in getting feedback from the user base on bugs and features and that kind of thing. And they've made a lot of changes. And I'm hoping that Radiology is going to do the same thing. Radiology has always been really good with support. They're very customer focused, which is nice. So Plasma, check out the Ham Nuggets episode we did a couple of weeks ago on code plugs and see if that helps. If not, drop a message in the Toads Discord and we will talk to you directly about how we can help you out. Operators are standing by.
It's Don. There's a certain level of sass.
I wasn't laughing at what Don said.
Certain level of truth.
Had a second. We got 2 Andys. We're going to have the Andy team in here now.
Right, yeah. Team Andy.
We got Andy Callie and Andy Angry Old Man. Oh, he's angry Andy Man.
I thought that was
Get off my lawn.
AA0AM. I don't know. I'm trying, Andy. Work with me here.
And he just changed his call sign because that's his new call sign. I've forgotten his old one already. I flushed it because now I know it's Andy. Well, Andy's last name, I think that's his initials too. The last couple digits of that is his initials.
Andy M. Lol, I
Andy
guessed
M.
it. He got it. Hey, Vern. How's the leg, Vern? Feeling better?
Vern!
There's Vern. Yeah.
Are you high on drugs, Vern? Did they got you doped to the gills? Vern's not answering.
So we're going to talk about 2 radios for sure that are new, huh?
At least it depends on how much material we can get through and how much time we have left at the end of the show. But we're going to talk about the 905 and the 710. The 905 is so new. Awesome, Vern. There is here. All right, so let me share out this video with the 905. And for YouTube copyright reasons, we're going to do some color commentary as this thing plays and pause and talk about features and review and that kind of thing.
We might dance through it too.
Maybe.
I'm waiting, Jim.
Let's get the HGs.
We ain't got no super chats yet.
5.6, 1.2, 430, 144 megahertz, 10 gigahertz with a star.
Let's always aim ever higher.
Ever.
Jim, is that English?
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
Well, it's Chinglish, right?
Well, they're Japanese.
No, they're
Chuck.
Japanese, Chuck.
Japanese. Japanese. I don't know. I can't say that.
So 2.4, 5.6.
Are they? You sure it's made in Japan?
1.2, nothing's made in any place but China right now. 2.4, 5.6, 1.2, 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and 10 gigahertz with an extra optional add-on is what we're talking about on this radio. The radio out of the box should do everything except for 10 gigahertz, and then you need a separate transverter in order to upconvert to 10 gigahertz. And I believe that separate transverter is going to come with the transverter and an antenna for you. So,
do we have an idea of the cost of this yet? Have you seen
like
anything
or something? I was like, I'm passing.
I haven't seen it, but it's got to be expensive.
I saw, I think a European or Japanese. No, it had to be European. They had 99.90 euros for the price, which is $10,000. And I thought, surely that has to be a placeholder. I can't imagine. I mean, I figure this thing's a couple $1,000s at least, but 10 grand seemed a little pricey.
I don't know, man. That sounds a little expensive. I mean, I don't do any of those bands, so I probably won't be buying one.
Well,
maybe,
Charles,
maybe
but on this you can
send
actually
me
read the screen, unlike on most Yaesu menus where the screen is so small.
You just need better eyes, Jim. That's all I got to say. I can read all my screens.
That was for Ape since he wasn't here.
Chuck's the one not wearing the glasses right now. Just saying.
Shut up.
You don't see glasses on me.
I have a medical problem, man.
Yes, many. But we're not going to talk about that on this show.
Yeah, that's as you guys would say, that's 80s. That's 80.
Yes. 80 meters, right?
80 meters.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, the IC705 when it came out was $12.99, somewhere along those price lines. So this is going to have to be more expensive because you're getting multiple things in the box to begin with. And I hope they'll show us what some of that stuff is. Let's take a look.
VHF, UHF, and enter the world of SHF.
Now, I always think of SHTF when I see SHF.
Yeah.
Super high frequency, I guess.
Super.
Ooh, so SSB, CW, FM, AM, RIDI, DV, digital voice, DD, digital data, which is, that's a thing you can do on the 705 now, is you can send pictures over D-Star. So I don't know why they're saying that twice. ATV, on the other hand, is amateur TV. This thing has a composite input jack, so you can send video into it, and a composite output jack. So you can see video on the screen of the 905, and then you can also send it out to a large screen TV.
Is it a HDMI hookup or what?
No, it's composite.
Are you high, Chuck? No. Is this 2050? No.
I mean, couldn't they do that through USB-C?
USB-C. This one does have USB-C though, so you might be able to get video out on USB-C. That's still kind of yet to be determined. But when you get to see the sides of this, you'll see there's not enough room for 2 HDMI connectors. I could see 2 USB-C connectors though.
Well, they couldn't fit 2 BNC connectors on that radio for some reason.
They don't put any antenna connectors on this
smaller
radio.
one. The 705 is what I was saying. Sorry.
This one's so feature packed they left the antennas out.
How's that work? I wonder.
The
We'll get there.
IC905 is the first rig in the industry to operate in the 144, 430, 1200, 2400, 5600 megahertz, and 10 gigahertz bands.
That's
So
just like a
technically-
different person now.
Yeah, technically
Did you know that?
5.6 is 5G, 5 gigahertz, but cell phone technology is 5G 5th generation, not gigahertz. So
Correct.
they're all over the place. So
All mode
Hayden's
operation
next.
including
Nice.
D-Star, DV, DD mode, and ATV.
This
I
must
still
be the
want a
way-
Output power is
9700.
10 watts on 144, 430, 1200 megahertz, 2 watts on 2400, 5600 megahertz, and 0.5 watts on 10 gigahertz.
Okay, so I have a question. Pause it there, Steve.
Powerhouse.
So, can one of y'all tell me, or someone in the chat, because I know there's some smart people in the chat, why is the power so low as we get up into the higher frequency bands? On the 2.4 and 5.6, it drops down to 2, and then at 10, it's 0.5. Do we just not need as much power to push the signal the same distance? Would it cause a spontaneous wormhole to erupt if we push too much power at 10
it
gigahertz?
might. It just might.
I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
'Cause
So
I
the official
always see
answer
that.
on this is there's not enough bandwidth in the cables to get the signal out to the antenna. So, and it's also dangerous. So we're running low power so we don't hurt ourselves, and we're running low power because of the technology that we have.
Yeah,
would be
that makes
much
sense.
more expensive.
That makes sense. At that frequency, it could cause Dane Bramage.
Yeah, I mean your microwave oven runs at 2 point something gigahertz.
Right.
So
Yeah,
enough
that's
to
right.
cook you.
Okay. Good point.
So Chuck, we got the side view of this thing here with all of these connectors on it. So we've
see
got
that.
AV in composite, AV out composite, send, which is your PA, your amplifier connection, Elec key. I don't know why it says Elec key, but it's Morse code key. External speaker, and then speaker mic is one plug now instead of two, like it was on the 705. And then there's also a microphone connector, and then a power connector on the wrong side of the radio this time.
You know, they could have let that second one, that speaker mic, off. As far as I was concerned, the speaker net little 705 is nice anyhow.
Yeah,
I never hook it up.
I always leave the speaker mic, the speaker in the mic disconnected myself.
Yeah, I do too. I've never actually tried it.
Can you
I
make a
guess it works.
transverter from a microwave oven? Plasma, you can do anything. You're a ham.
At least once, son. At least once.
I'm thinking about buying it right now. Not that.
I've defeated the
Microwave?
interlocks on a microwave oven once, and we ran it with the
That
door off.
explains a lot, Jim.
I can tell you that it causes diarrhea in human beings.
Again, oversharing light is on, Jim.
Oversharing? Sorry. My bad.
That's what happens. You know, first thing that goes. Oh wait a minute, that was his memory.
What's your name? Are you Ape? That's you.
The
That's it.
IC905 consists of the controller and the RF
Phil, thank you for
module.
joining. Thank you for
biggest
becoming a
feature-
member of the channel, Phil. We're going to
Yeah, Phil.
pause for dancing.
Dang.
Okay. All right.
So, waveguide isn't a
done
periscope.
planned.
That's true. Waveguide is really interesting. I want to learn more about waveguide myself. I have seen a waveguide dish, and it's kind of like I mean, you guys probably know more about this than I do, but the wave, the signal, moves through a specifically shaped, sized, and distance of tubing in order to reach the other end intact. Not electrical tubing, more like plumbing tubing. Pretty cool.
Bill, because that's how they get you.
Yeah.
I
So
thought
the
that
answer-
was an interesting thing, too. Do you know a reason for that? Because I don't know why they'd leave it out.
The official reason for leaving out 220 is it's not a worldwide amateur radio band.
Okay. That's U.S. only, isn't it?
Region 2 only,
Region
I think,
2?
To be pedantic. But, we're hams, so we have to be pedantic.
Right.
Is the LAN cable connection between the controller and the RF module. By
So this is
connecting
part
the
of the reason why
controller
it's
and the
expensive.
RF module with the LAN cable, Even if the antenna and controller are 20 meters apart, for example, the coaxial cable loss can be reduced by only using a few centimeters between the RF module and antenna.
So that's actually what I was trying to say earlier, is the coaxial cable losses are what we're trying to defeat at the 0.5 watts over the LAN cable. So, and this is
that
how
also
you
gets it. Well, that also gets that frequency away from you potentially in the shack as well. I mean, just based on this drawing, that puts the 10 gigahertz stuff that separates
up on the top of the tower. Yeah,
right.
So all the RF is happening inside of that waterproof module on top of the tower, small run of coax to the dish, and then...
And it's on a waveguide, right? So I assume it's very directional. One of you EEs in the chat, and I know there's a couple of y'all.
Yeah, I think you need a directional antenna for this one, right? I don't think it's...
There would be a directional antenna for it, but I don't think this is waveguide.
Okay.
This is probably going to look a lot more like your typical, satellite dish antenna for DirecTV or something like that.
Don says he's already done it. Figure that.
Well, of course.
Oh, Lou. You crazy squids. You crazy squids.
Even in the UHF, SHF bands, efficient transmission and reception are realized with extremely low cable loss. This allows the IC905 to operate efficiently in the SHF band, which in the past was mainly limited to operation directly below the antenna, even from home or in a car for mobile operation. Adopting PoE, Power over Ethernet technology, supplies power through the LAN cable.
Okay, Mike, thank you.
With PoE technology, the connection can be made with a single cable, and the RF module can be installed with more versatility. Moreover, PoE technology makes it possible to supply...
What's that, Jim?
N8YO is an EE, and so is Raphael. PU1 Owl. They're both EEs, so... STEM for the win, boys.
Yep. This technology is only 20 years old.
Clearly.
10 gigahertz requires a separate purchase. Yeah, that's that RF module, I would assume.
Yeah, it's a second RF module in addition to this one. And then another antenna. So this is actually interesting. This technology is only about 20 years old, and it's already making it into the ham world, which means it's like 40 years ahead of its time.
Cutting edge.
Unlike HDMI, which has still not made it.
HDMI is like 20 years old now, too, yeah.
At least.
Supply power with a low power loss. Normally, if the power cable is extended to 20 meters, the voltage drop will be too large for a 10-watt transceiver, and it may not operate properly. With PoE technology, the DC power loss can be reduced by raising the voltage and reducing the current. So it is possible to supply stable power even if the cable is long. The IC905 will be supplied with a LAN cable with weather durability. Another challenge is frequency accuracy and stability. Even with a high-performance OCXO, the frequency gradually changes.
So OCXO is something that I learned from Curious Mark, and he says oven because of his native language. And so every time I see that, I think oven because that was the first way that I've ever heard it. Oven-controlled crystal oscillator as opposed to a temperature-controlled crystal oscillator. Good stuff.
Changes due to temperature and aging. With normal OCXOs, the annual deviation will be plus or minus 0.3 ppm and plus or minus 1.5 ppm in 10 years. At 5.6 gigahertz, the deviation will be as much as 8.4 kilohertz in 10 years. To solve this problem, we have adopted a method that uses a high-precision 1 pulse per second clock signal from a GNSS GPS receiver to enable advanced frequency management.
GNSS, is that the Russian one?
GLONASS.
That's
so maybe
GLONASS.
Yeah. So Raphael's saying the IC9700 has a huge drift, which is probably why they did this thing with the 905 with their 1 PPS drift.
Raphael, did you just harsh my buzz? I mean, I'm getting this close to buying a 9700.
Oh, it's got an external reference, so you've got plenty of external devices that you can feed it.
Yeah. I guess you could use a GPS signal to...
I think it's also got a 10 megahertz input.
Okay.
I mean, when you get it, you're going to tell me all about it. So
Sure I will.
And that
That'll
money
be a
that you
video.
saved on the K2, you can use to buy the 9700.
Not the money that I saved on the K2, the money I saved on that awesome oscilloscope that I wanted to buy.
Which would have had the 10 megahertz reference also.
Yes. Right.
There you go.
And YouTube cat is here. I've given up fighting this cat because it's more drama if I fight her.
The cat has won.
You ever fought a cat? You're gonna lose.
Whooped.
The controller design
Hiking
is
in
based on the
Hammond.
compact IC705. The operation is basically the same as the IC705,
They could have taken those
with
two
a
pictures from the same
4.3-inch
angle.
large color LCD touch display. A high-performance real-time
Can't read that.
spectrum scope and waterfall display are built in.
I could.
The real-time spectrum scope can be adjusted for various band spans. D-star functions are also built in.
Sweet.
Oh, man, it's
DD
got D-star.
mode, DR.
Could you imagine D-Star
Thank
at 10
God.
gigahertz?
No.
That'd be
Well,
awesome.
that was my next question is, does it do D-Star in all the bands? Because there's got to be 3 people on this planet that can do D-Star at 10 gigahertz. Doesn't Hayden, VK7HH, doesn't he do some of the SHF stuff?
He does a lot of it. Yeah, he's actually got some world records in microwave.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, to do all the way to New Zealand or something, right?
Yeah, I don't see why it couldn't. I mean, I'm on 80 meters on digital voice mode right now on my 705.
I mean, there's no technical reason I could think of unless it's a bandwidth limitation or something.
So, I mean, it's possible. Once, Chuck, we should try a digital voice contact with the 705s on HF. Simplex.
Yeah.
Digital voice. Does it do
Yeah.
digital voice?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just push the buttons. It acts like it's going to try it. We'll have to try it for real. And then compare that to like SSB and see what the sound quality's like.
Yeah, but how are we going to do that? You're going to like
You
come over
just
my
talk
house or
over
something?
HF and digital.
No,
That's it.
HF, Simplex.
Just like your Yaesu does it too, Chuck.
I can get 100 watts. Oh, you can get 100 watts out too, huh? That's right.
Yeah, I got an amplifier.
You know, the 991 actually does that.
Joe Bright says it'll work.
feature.
Yes.
Well, it's about time they came out with that. Yaesu's had it forever.
So Mike's talking about the JIS screwdrivers. You can tell a JIS screw because it looks like a Phillips head screw, but it's got a little dimple on the one side of it.
Huh.
And they're just ever so slightly different. If you're ever working on a Japanese motorcycle, Chuck, you want a set of JIS screwdrivers.
I've never had a set, and I've worked on quite a few of them, so I don't know.
You're getting away with it. Your luck will run out one day.
I don't
Our
know.
function, terminal mode, access point mode, enable easy use of D-Star. It is also possible to send, receive, and view saved photos in the IC905.
But you can do that on the,
The
705.
IC905 is compatible.
You can do the sending and receiving of photos on the ID52, the 705, and the 905. I don't know that if you can do it on the 9700. I don't think so.
It should, you'd think.
I don't know, and that is something that does not. Well, did we make
Chuck.
Chuck mad? Icom rules and Yaesu drools, Chuck. John,
So-
if you're out there, I apologize. I'm just messing with Chuck.
The photo mode is a byproduct of digital voice.
Right. It's also fairly slow, isn't it? Like 9600.
Yeah, I think that's a federal limit, though.
Yeah, I think you know what? I think you're right because I think that's a question on the test. As a matter of fact.
Yeah,
There might be
1200
some-
baud and 9600 BPS.
Yeah, something like that.
Because again, ham radio's stuck in the early 80s.
Compatible with ATV in the FM mode. If an analog camera
So
is
that's live
connected, the
television.
IC905 can transmit and receive
That's
video
cool.
and also supports enlarged display of the video.
That's awesome.
In addition to these various functions, the CX10G, a 10 gigahertz transverter, is available as an optional item.
Ooh.
An antenna unit for the 10 gigahertz
Nice,
band
Raphael.
is also available.
I don't have any
Icom
friends
and
in
the
the area that I can play this
IC905 has
with.
made operation in the 10 gigahertz band much simpler than it has been to date. SHF operation will become more familiar and easy to work.
So this is the stack you're going to need to get on 10 gigahertz. The regular transverter, the RF module that comes with the 905. Then you have to buy the CX10G add-on, and then your 10 gigahertz antenna.
Is the CX10G, that's the transverter in the middle, right?
Yeah, this piece right here.
So that's bumping you from, what, I guess the 5.6 band times 2, or from the 2.4 times 4?
So Don would know more about this than I do because he actually owns some transverters, and I think it's a specific frequency, not a harmonic frequency.
Okay.
2.4
Raphael
times
says
4.
2.4 times 4. Okay. Sweet.
Work going forward. A variety of functions are available, including AV input and output for ATV. The IC905 is packed with useful features and functions, making it possible to provide more comfortable and advanced operation.
So, Phil, the question you're asking is a lot of depends on kind of thing.
Something that Jim uses a lot.
You know, that joke was teed up for me to say something to you about it, and I just let it go, Chuck. Let it go, man. Yaesu menus blow, okay? I'll say that to Crook. Yaesu menus blow. Oh, no, they blow like, oh, never mind.
I have Icoms too. They're okay. What's really weird is
Daddy and
the
Daddy
way
are
the
fighting
705 and the 991 work.
We're making little
identical.
Stevie uncomfortable. I like the 991. And honestly, I don't have a 705, and I ain't a fan of it because it's 100 watt with no tuner and a crappy battery. The screen on it is friggin' beautiful. The functionality is awesome. And if that thing was 100 watts, I'd buy one. And see, for that, the 991 is a better deal. And it does sideband on 2 meters, which is just nerdy
They
cool.
both do. They do it. So does the 705.
Does it do it? Yeah.
Yeah. They're both shaft boxes.
Not a 100 watt radio, so it sucks. So, Phil, the answer to your question is yes. Baud rate is technically signal rate changes. Don will jump in here and correct me because I'm sure I'm going to say this wrong. But you can get so much information down the pipe at a certain rate and up into a certain speed, and I can't remember. Baud and BPS are the same thing, and then after that speed, it kind of changes. And
it's 1200.
I was thinking it's 12 or 24. I couldn't remember for sure. And what they do is they change modulation and encoding of the data stream to actually jam more data within the same signal rate. So what's 9600 baud or 14.4 or 56K? Yeah, I mean, yes, there's a limit. Higher baud rate requires wider bandwidth requires higher baud rate. It's actually the other way around. And Don could probably explain this way better than I can because this junk he works with every day, I think. But anyway.
All right.
That was just a good question. I didn't want to pass that up.
Sorry, I'm preoccupied. I'm buying something.
Oh, you buying a 905?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Chuck, I'm going to buy my 9700 right now.
Let's take a look at each part. On the right side of the controller, there are ports to connect to the RF module, the SD card slot, and the USB Type-C connector. On the left side of the controller, there are connectors for the speaker microphone, key jack for CW, and AV in-out, etc. Now let's look at the RF module.
So many ports
On
she
the
had to
top
say,
side,
etc.
There are SMA-type antenna connectors for 5600 megahertz and 2400 megahertz. An N-type antenna connector for 144, 430, 1200 megahertz, and an SMA type antenna connector for the GPS. On the bottom side, there are connectors for the LAN cable to the controller, a connector for the CX10G, and a BNC type connector for the 10 megahertz reference output. The RF module is robust and designed for outdoor use with an IPX5 waterproof rating.
I love Ray's comment on that. If you're worried about submersion of your antenna and RF module on the roof of your house, you've got bigger problems to worry about.
Now, what is IPX5? That is less than an IPX67, right? I don't remember those.
I think it's like rainproof.
Okay.
But, not submersible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So unless you live
the
in
IC905 will show you a new world in the
Underwater.
SHF band. It will excite your curiosity and inspire you to explore technology.
It will.
That makes me kind of uncomfortable.
Let's aim higher together with the IC905.
Her
VHF,
language.
UHF, and enter the world of SHF.
We're moving on up. HF.
There you go.
See SHF.
Raphael, I don't even think it's the exchange rate, dude. I mean, I think you're going to have to be like Carlos Escobar of Brazil to afford this thing. If it's, do you think it's going to be 10,000 euros? Because that's what I saw on some website. That's a lot of money.
I'm thinking 2 to 3, and
2 to
then
3,000
gigahertz
dollars.
module's probably another 1,000.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm with Raphael. You're
Maybe
going to have to win the
25.
lottery on that thing, or start selling
705
drugs or
705 is
something.
13, so it's going to be more than that. So I figure,
Yeah.
2 to 25 maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, it's not like
25.95.
they make a $8,000 or $9,000 radio, so it wouldn't be the first one.
That's the
Raphael?
7851, right?
I'll tell you what, Raphael, I'll make you a
Yeah, I
deal.
don't
I think it would actually be cheaper if you bought the radio for me, got a plane ticket to come up here, stayed in a hotel, and then came over to my place to play with the radio, and then flew back to Brazil. I think you'd actually save money on that.
Right.
Back to Brazil. I don't know.
I mean,
interesting.
it's a cool looking radio. Man, that's
I guess they brought this out kind of like everybody does, and there's no info really. I mean, there's a little bit of information, but not enough to.
well, it's like the 705. I mean, same kind of deal. They make an announcement. Nobody has one.
So they announced this at Dayton as the SHF project, and now
Right.
it is the 905. So it went from like this kind of pet project to this is now
Right.
the real thing. We're really doing this, and I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have the money to enjoy how interesting it is.
Plasma, I wouldn't be surprised. That may be a placeholder too.
Right. It doesn't look like something I'd buy. I'm not really personally. I'm not interested in those. I've got the bands I'm interested in already, and other radios,
Right.
multiple radios.
Well, I wonder if they're going to let you do ATV over 2 meters.
I don't know.
Are there
Does it have
limitations on
frontal
that?
duplex?
There's some
ATV?
limitations on that, right? Yeah. Can you?
I think there
'cause
are, yeah.
Like only certain bands you're allowed to do that on.
Probably that's like the digital voice thing too.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do that in certain. I mean, I think Don turned me onto that. That even though my 991 can do it, you're not legal to do it on all bands. I think it has to be bands that have like repeaters, right, or something like that. Don was actually up on it when I talked about it one time.
Cape Cod, I'm with you. There's got to be a worldwide market of 12 or
man.
15 of these things. Yeah.
Can you blow that up?
Which part? What do you want to say?
Is that for cooling on the back of there? Oh, that's the
On the-
RF. That's the mod.
This is the RF
Right.
module, but yes, the
back of the
905
radio-
body has cooling on it also.
Yeah, I saw that. And that's one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's because the plastic or what, but I've done FT8 on my 705, and I've never felt the thing get warm.
Right, Rob?
But I don't know if it's getting warm inside and just not making it to the outside. I don't know.
Well, in the case of the 905, it's actually got a power supply baked into it. So you put 12
Oh,
volts
does
in,
it?
and it sends 48 volts PoE out to the tower.
Oh, Yeah, I really haven't looked at it. Once I found out what it was, it wasn't like I had to see it type thing. But
and
hey,
I believe
there's
that's
people that
Ape
will do it.
undercover. Do we
It
know if
does
that has?
not.
It does not do full
appear to.
duplex.
It does not appear to. No.
Wow.
Oh,
Because
See,
it doesn't have
that's
the dual VFOs like the 9700 does.
right.
oh yeah. It's
Mike
like
doesn't
a
think
little
it'll be quite that expensive. 2.5. Well, yeah, okay, that's what Chuck was saying, right? 2.5,
Mm-hmm.
and then
and then plus the transverter. I don't know.
Plus the
Transverters
I was saying-
aren't that
I was
expensive.
saying
though.
2 for the radio and 1,000 for the transverter, but that
Okay.
math is the
Well, I
same at the end of the day.
yeah,
Well, I say transverters aren't very expensive, but I've never priced an Icom transverter, so different story. It's usually by third-party people usually that make them. Don could.
and
talk
Don,
about
if
that
you
more
live
than we
where
can.
if you live where Steve is, there's no one to talk to.
There is no one to talk to up here on 2 meters.
Shoot, I
I
can
was trying
activate
again
sodas.
today.
I can activate sodas on 2 meter with a handy talkie.
There are
So
people
you-
here
you
on
say
2
that.
meters. I just don't want to talk to most of them.
You
Right.
say that, Chuck. I was on the top of Montesano, which is not a very tall mountain at Huntsville. I had a 5-watt HT with the rubber duck, and I made a greater than 20-mile contact. So it's just, number one is population density, number two is height, and you got both of those.
Oh yeah, I mean I've made farther than that on 5 watts.
Does it do crossband
Better,
repeat?
better at tennis usually though.
Yeah. And then Carlos was making contacts all over the place with it.
How high is how high is Mount
1,690.
Santo or whatever it is?
Yeah, not much.
16, oh, that's nothing.
That's like
I
an
mean,
eighth of a
compared
mile.
around here, that's not much.
It was high enough that our ears popped on the way up and down.
Really?
Yeah.
It's because you're a lowlander.
Yes.
I mean, I'm at 8 feet here, 18 feet or something like that. It's
8
all I
feet.
know.
8 feet. Chuck, your
Well,
front
my
porch is
head's-
going to be wet.
Thanks,
My
Ron.
head's at 14 feet at sea level.
Arthur,
so-
you're welcome. We tried. I think I will say Steve did a better job. He was more prepared for mobile live streaming than I was. Although I am processing the equipment to upgrade next year will be
Let me show that to you.
much better.
What do you got, Chuck?
It's here someplace. I wish I'd known he needed this earlier because I could have done a trade. But look at that. Can you read that? You probably can't read it.
It says Osmo. Yeah, it took a
Osmo.
minute to focus, but it says Osmo.
Is that your gimbal?
Yeah, it's for the
Which
phone.
gimbal?
His gimbal. Is that the 4 or the 5, Chuck?
This is like the 2, I think.
The 2?
Yeah,
That looks like it's Klingon.
I was looking at, and what I've read so far is that the 4 has much better battery life, and you can actually run/charge your phone off of the 4's much larger battery.
Oh, really?
But the 5 is much more of the
Nice, Lon.
sexy time.
You can do
It's-
that anyhow. I can
Steve
certainly
had
do
a
that.
5, right?
Yep.
But they're
think
still
mine's-
talking the battery life on the 5 is like 6 hours, and it was like 10 or 12 on the 4. So, and it's $20 difference between the two. So I'll probably just buy a 5.
The problem you run into is that your arm gets tired. At
Yeah.
an hour and a half on that live stream, my hand
Yep.
was starting to cramp up from the death
Oh,
grip
yeah.
I had on that thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I've got 2 gimbals from like my big cameras, and one of them, it's so dang big. It's heavier than the camera. I mean, the other one's nice. But you know what I didn't like about the Osmo is it does phones only. That's what I was trying to. When
Yeah.
Steve was looking, I was like, "There's other ones out there that are probably as good that'll do, like your sports cameras, which they don't really need it."
Yeah,
But-
there was don't
That's what I
you
was
or
trying to
isn't
do.
it you or Ape that has the GoPro?
I have a GoPro and
Sporty
a
cam
DJI.
thing?
The GoPro, I'm not. It's been working better since the last updates, and I did do what Carlos told me to do and changed the card in it to a different card.
Better card.
But when I took it to Hawaii, it's the first time I turned it up. It threw an error on the card. So, but it hasn't done it since. So I don't know.
Phil, there's an airport in Huntsville. it's probably more economical for you to fly to Atlanta and drive to Huntsville. Atlanta's about 2 hours away.
Well, I mean, it'll tell him when he books the flight and there's a connecting flight from Atlanta to Huntsville. just drive.
It's actually probably cheaper to rent a car and drive than it is for that connecting flight. I live in Montgomery, and we're like a fourth tier quasi-regional airport here. And to fly to Montgomery is generally $200 or $300 more than to fly to Atlanta. So,
and if you jump on the Toads Discord, we'll have a Huntsville Hamfest sub chat channel in there, and I'm sure you can say, "Hey, I'm flying into Atlanta. Is there anybody else that's going to be at the airport that can give me a ride?" And I'm sure you'll get 5 people that'll volunteer to give you a ride.
For next year? He's talking next year.
Yeah,
I might try. I'm going to try and make it. I just had too many different. I went to Hawaii this year, and that was not cheap.
You went to Hawaii. You went to Quartzsite. You went to the Grand Canyon.
Quartzsite was
vacation in
last year.
full, man.
No, in the last 12 months. It was this year.
Sorry.
I may have depends, but at least I remember what day it is.
Phil, thank you very much for becoming a channel member.
Oh, Phil. Awesome. Appreciate it, buddy. We do the dance. So I've been looking at gimbals, and what I have discovered, I wanted to use my ZV-1 to stream because it's a better camera. However, what I've discovered is there's no way to stream off the ZV-1 without a computer. I have not found a way to take the live video feed. Oh, Vern, you're yes.
Jim's definitely going to be there.
I had a half a shot. That's all I want. I'm not a huge drinker, but it was delicious. It was some of the best bourbon I ever had. Kentucky is renowned for horses and bourbon. Amen to both.
Sounds good. I'm all
Carlos,
for it.
I understand there's a language barrier, but I think you mean presence, not pretense. I mean, I would actually enjoy a lack of big pretense from Yaesu.
It was, I don't think either one of them had a very huge, Icom had an end cap, but it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Gigaparts
Nobody from
Gigaparts
Icom
was
showed? Or,
there was
Yaesu?
people from
Ray and Will were both there from Icom.
Yeah. And they had an end cap display. I mean, it wasn't huge. Gigaparts had a huge display.
And if you're new to the show, I'm giving Carlos a hard time because I know him very well.
Yeah, they were phoning it in. The Yaesu certainly was. I don't even remember. Was there a Yaesu booth there at all?
There was.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about this radio here. And
let's go to that.
They didn't have this radio at the show. And I realize it's not ready yet, but I figured they might have teased it under glass or something.
That 101 came out 2 years. It was the last time I went to Dayton. It was there then under glass. It was you couldn't touch or nothing. I'm surprised they didn't have one.
Hey, Randall.
Good evening.
Oh, who's got those for sale?
This is Gigaparts. You can request a stock alert, but it's not going to be ready until a couple of days from now, they say. So Chuck, you know the most about this radio compared to any of us. Where's the market space for this? Because it's not a Shack in the Box, and it's not the FTDX10.
It supposedly replaces the 1200, which was like the radio below the 3000.
Do we have some spectacles on that, T.O.?
And I don't know. I think it's actually maybe more aimed at the 7300 price. I mean, cheaper than the 7300 maybe eventually. I don't know. I mean, no radio is cheap when it first comes out.
Right.
And what's the FTDX10 right now is 13 or 14, I think now. It was 17 when it came out or something.
Do you think that's an 891 replacement is what that's supposed to be?
No. 891
No, this isn't mobile. This is a desktop radio.
Oh, is it that big?
I think it's really close to
991A size, I think.
Yes. I think the screen's bigger.
I mean, here's your size.
The screen is the same size as the 7300.
The screen looked better than the 991A, and
it's bigger.
It's better.
It can't be worse.
991 was out way before. I mean, that was out before it was a 991 and then a 991A, so it's an older radio.
Okay. I had an A. I mean, I thought it was a good radio. I liked it. I sold it in my 7300 so I could get a 7610.
But you fixed it, Chuck.
I did fix it. And I love it again.
Preset mode function most suitable for FT8 operation.
Yeah, they're all kind of doing that now. I think didn't they come out with that on the FTDX10? Now, see the difference.
It's on the 7300 firmware from last year.
Here's the weird thing: is FDX usually is their higher tier radios, I guess, right? And this one's only an FT, so I don't know what the difference. The 1200 was an FTDX, I think, also. So interesting radio. I mean, this might be a really good, especially if the price is right. Might be a really good radio to take on Parks on the Air stuff if you guys are taking, because the 981 is a little bit smaller than a 7300 physically, not much.
They do.
And
Raphael, you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
A 705 thingy.
They need a QRP portable 705 competitor.
Oh yeah.
The 818 needs a facelift, is what he's saying, and I agree.
Yeah, I think it's coming. From what
How
I
old is the 818?
30.
Oh, it's almost as old as I am. It's probably
Chuck's like, I've had 5 of them. That's how old it is.
So that was back in the Spark.
I've never
days.
had one. I actually wouldn't mind.
See you later,
having
Vern.
one, to tell you the truth.
Vern, take care, brother.
Sometimes I seem more interested in that than I am the 705. Even though the 705 is a really, really nice little radio, but
The 818 is a good form factor. I think it's more durable than the 705.
and I think it's a more throw it in your backpack radio than the 705 too. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean the 705 to me, like I'd rather have my X6100 in my backpack than the 705. Form factor and wow factor and all that jazz. The 705 to me is the radio you take to the hotel when you're on a business trip, or you take it into the cube farm at work to impress all your friends. The 818 is a radio that gets the job done.
It's like that. It's like that girl in high school you didn't want your friends to know you were hanging out with.
Hey, don't forget that thumbs up, people, please. I mean, it helps the channel.
Good one, Jim.
I'm just saying. Yeah,
the visuals alone, Jim.
I kind of agree with you there, Tio. It's a cool radio to take into your hotel and stuff like that. Because I mean, plus it does a lot of things, and I guess you get a little more power than most handy dockies on your 2 meter and 70. So
I mounted the 705 as my car radio for the Huntsville trip, and it did pretty well.
Did you actually turn it on when I asked you to turn it on when you were driving that day? Did you see me?
Yeah.
I said, turn your radio on, because all of a sudden, because that would have been light for your face, you know?
Yeah. It was already on.
It started getting darker. It was.
Yeah, it was already on. I was calling CQ on 2 meters. Like it's got the, the record your CQ function, and then it's got the auto repeat of it. And I
used it.
I called CQ on 2 long enough that the 705 said, ain't nobody coming back. Just
ain't nobody come. Ain't nobody here.
And it was right. Nobody came back.
Now I haven't taken 2 screenshots side by side, and I don't know if this FT710 is the same as a 101 or a FTDX10. I don't know if it is the hybrid model. I had people that said, "Oh, it's not a hybrid," when I did a little video on it, and then some people said, "Well, yeah, it is." So I'm not really sure. When
you say hybrid, what are you talking about? What are they mixing together?
Well, like STR and superhet.
Okay,
that's what a 101 is. That's why the 101 is so good for rejecting the front end stuff, because it's more old style,
right? And
then it has the SDR for the receive part of it and stuff. That's why it rates so well. But and I don't know if this radio is the same or not. To tell you the truth,
so Taylor's saying it is superhead and SDR.
Is it okay? So Taylor's maybe checked it out then. That's cool, especially if it's under $1,000.
Yeah. So this is the SDR technology here.
Mm-hmm.
High resolution direct digital synthesizer, and enables phenomenal multi-signal receiving characteristics. That's a lot of marketing speak in one sentence.
Well, they have synthesizers in there, in the Yaesus.
The Yaesu radios do sound good.
Like the board that Jim has there for his audio and for what we're doing right now. It's built in that, and that is part of the
what do they call that? Parametric audio? Is that what they call that? Parametric audio?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. When I had my 990, geez, when I had my 991, Chuck, and I'm going through the menus, there's probably 10 or 12 settings for the audio alone in the 991A. And I'm like, I'm not touching these, or I'll end up sounding like a drunk Martian.
There's settings for different like FM and sideband.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a couple buddies in San Diego that I talk to on a regular basis, and I have mine pretty dialed. And this guy was an audio guy that he had the same radio of my 3000, and he says, if you got a few minutes, we can work on it. And people are listening. Don't touch what he just told you to do. He goes, it sounds awesome. And one of my buddies down in San Diego doesn't quite like as much bass in it, and it had a little too much bass, and we tweaked it a little bit. And I'll tell you, when I get on the amp and start making contacts and stuff, I get a lot of like, I don't ask for how my audio is or anything like that, and people tell me that my audio is really good. So, and what's cool about it, and I'm sure the Icom's the same way. If you have the newer radios, you can just take the same settings and put on both radios. Icom only has like 3 settings though. They have I'm
kind of a 3-setting guy.
You like 3 at a time? Yeah.
Portable amplified speakers with tone control. I do not know.
I put that up there. I don't know. Chuck, jump in here. But don't some of those doesn't Yaesu have, like, for those high end radios? Isn't that speaker like a bunch?
I don't run a Yaesu speaker. I run a Palstar on my 3000.
I don't, because I was thinking they do.
This one's supposed to be something different, and nowhere out there do they explain what it is. You know, it's like I was saying with the 905, same thing. They're telling you about it, but nobody explains what it is yet.
Right.
So I don't know if I have to buy that speaker, if I buy that radio to make it have the sound, or any speaker works.
So this actually says it. It says it in the specifications down here. Where is it? Mm-hmm. The AESS with the SP40 creates the high fidelity audio output. So I don't know if there's some processing going on in the speaker or not, or if they're just trying to sell you the SP40 and any old speaker will work.
Now I think, and somebody mentioned it, I think it was Don, Heil sells a whole bunch of high-endy, fancy audio gear for ham radio, and I think they have a parametric speaker.
Yeah,
I believe Don is right on that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Ron's saying he doesn't get comments on his audio quality on FT8. That's only because you're not listening, Ron.
You have to listen, Ron.
Don, if you play,
I'm sure they're telling you that.
Ron, if you play YouTube while you're FT8ing, make sure it's a funny video.
I love the guys talking on FT8.
That's always funny. It was good meeting you, Ron.
Did you guys meet Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we did. I talked to Ron for quite a while.
This external display on the 710, and it does not come with it, but the photograph makes it look like it's a flip-up display.
Oh, it sure does, man. It looks like it was like mounted on the back of the radio or something.
Now you guys all know that I'm an Elecraft guy now, so I just have to put out there that if you want to talk about an external display done right, this is how you do it. This is the Elecraft K4, and it can display something completely different on the external display, and high resolution and HDMI.
Hey, Raven.
Yeah, they do actually do HDMI. You're right.
I met Raven at the Huntsville Hamfest. Super nice lady. Very smart. Smarter than me.
Well, never mind.
Shut up, Chuck. You big stinky head.
Jim is a really smart guy. I'm just going to say that.
Ron, you'll be waiting a little bit longer. I still have to do it myself.
Oh, the tweaking. Yeah.
I own 4 Elecraft pieces of equipment now, Carlos.
So you bought that. Jim was
Carlos
looking
Felix,
at it,
so you talk about me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Jim got scared. And then you found out that radio actually did have sideband in it, right?
Oh, no, Jim did not get scared. Jim was just like, do I really want this? I've got 2 HF radios I ain't really done anything yet with. They're sitting out in the shop waiting for my attentions. I didn't want to buy another one.
Is that the way it went?
That's exactly
in my mind, yes.
And T.O. did this, right?
He actually, I said to Steve came, I saw his ginormous giraffe neck coming from across the way. and he brought Josh and N8YO in tow with him. And so we're all ogling over the deal. I mean, Josh thought it was, if Steve hadn't bought it or I hadn't bought it, it was going to California, because I think Hosh was about to buy him a
it looked
K2.
like it. He was
One of us was leaving with that radio.
He said, "I'm listening to Ape and Chuck talk about this radio as he's listened to our stream, and he goes, I got to go over and see what this thing is," or something like that. And then he showed up, and I think he was familiar with it too, right? Or I knew you already had one, Steve. Is that the same one you already had? It's a KX1. Is that what it was?
This is the KX1. Yeah.
What's the one you just bought?
The K2.
Oh, a K2. And that was a small. It's not that small, right?
No, it's a base station. It's 7,300 size base station radio.
That's what I thought. When you showed that, I'm like, I don't remember it being that small.
No.
That wasn't.
I was just saying I've been an Elecraft guy for a while. I don't brag. I'm not like a flex guy that's got to flex all the time.
They actually say when you buy one of those Elecrafts that it's like a cult following after you have one. I mean, I didn't quite get it from I really do like my KX2, but it's not in the same class, I don't think, with their base stations.
Right.
It's a good radio.
Mike wasn't about to buy it, but between Josh and Steve and me, and I was like, this would be cool because then I could have an Elecraft, because they're nice, they're beautiful radios.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Carlos, they're high-endy, fancy radios. And the guy Steve stole that radio from that old man. I'm just saying. He did. That was a great, stupid, great
what he's
price.
asking for it. That's what he's asking for it. You didn't talk him down, did you?
And I wasn't the first person to drool over it and walk away. So.
Right.
That's right.
I drooled over it. I was like
just the last person to drool over it and walk away.
Ooh. And I told Steve, I said, dude, if you're ready to pull out cash and buy it, because he said something to me. He asked me, was I going to buy it? And I'm like, no, listen, I'm still thinking about it. If you got the cash and you're ready to buy it, you buy it. Go for it.
See, now, this is the thing about being friends.
We had bro code. He asked me if he could hang out with my chick before, my ex before,
Yeah. Do you mind if I go there? And he said,
and
Ape
and I were doing side bets who was going to actually buy it. Ape lost. I said
Ape lost.
Buy it.
There are things I will spend money on, Jim. Your 1980s oscilloscope is not one of them.
So that came with a 100-watt amp also, right?
Yeah, it's got the built-in amplifier stage. It's integrated into the case.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a bunch of parts. There was a bunch of parts to it.
Steve, whip it out.
Whoa. It's a family show, man. Look at that.
Hey, I didn't buy it, Don. I didn't buy it. I let Steve. The guy who bought it seemed. The guy that we bought it from. The guy that Steve bought it from seemed like a really, really nice dude.
Yeah,
and he was like full on CW. No, he's selling for himself.
But he didn't know what was in it. That was the weird thing.
He
didn't know
it for him.
Yeah, he had somebody build it.
Oh,
and he didn't know if it had the SSB module in it. He wasn't sure because all he ever did was CW on 80 meters or something.
That looks smaller than a 7300.
Let's see. It is
you
smaller.
Didn't ask Jim what, Carlos?
Maybe an inch left to right and a half an inch top to bottom.
Oh, so it's a 991 size then.
Yeah.
That's a nice little radio.
It's a beautiful looking radio.
It's 2 generations back, right?
Yeah, the K4 is the current, then the K3, then the K2, then the... I don't know if they made a K1. Did they make a K1, Mike? I thought there was a radio that looked just like this, but was smaller.
Their first radio was really small, I thought, too. But yours is what is yours? Yours is a KX1, right?
KX1.
Olan, he found a radio.
Have you hooked it up yet?
There was a K1. I plugged it in at the show, and with Mike N8YO's help, we were able to determine what it had in it and what kind of power it was putting out. Mike's the kind of guy that every day carries a Morse code key. So he was able to
he did, literally he did.
Pocket.
Yep, he dug into his pocket and pulled out a key.
I've seen him jam on it, man. Some of those POTAs they did.
So there's not a blemish on this thing. This thing is just in fantastic shape.
And Steve, I want right of first refusal if you decide you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, double the price.
We talked briefly about trading a current model oscilloscope for that radio when Steve's done videoing all over it.
Oh, Arnold says it came after the K2, the K1. I guess he's talking about the K1.
Yeah, Elecraft had their order of operations in an interesting state. So the KX3 came out before the KX2 came out, is what what Wayne told us.
It is.
And
by the way, is anybody
know.
is anybody on after us tonight? It's 8:00. It's 8:07.
Somebody streamed alongside of us. I don't remember. I don't know who it was.
Mr.
I'm
OG?
subscribed to him.
Castler.
I don't know if Dave is or not.
Checking.
Well, I mean, he's probably
Should
got
not
200 or
have put
300
zeros
live
in call
stream.
signs.
Concur.
Oh,
I don't see him live streaming.
really?
Oh, wow. Cape Cod, yes, it does. That's what Steve was saying. Him and N8YO tested it. They hooked it up. The Huntsville Club had a table set up with bench test gear so we could light it up
cool.
and put power through it and all that.
That's really cool. They do that. You know, a lot of places, because theirs is all inside, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With air conditioning.
Yes.
So a little easier than like Dayton. I mean, their thing's huge over there for that place.
Yeah, after seeing Steve and you guys at Dayton and Mike, the confessed felonious FT8 criminal, even though I was his attorney, yeah, that's way too much outside. But when was that? That was back in May,
But it
March.
wasn't,
May.
when I went, it wasn't hot. It was raining some days. It didn't rain. It rained before and like one night, I think, when I was there the last time. That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I may go to Orlando one year, but Huntsville's a deal for me because it's just a 3-hour drive. So no big
Oh
deal.
yeah, that's like
You have no
Pacificon
excuse.
for me. But
Right.
Pacificon's not. It's not real big. They just don't have the space. And they only
Really?
do
I
the,
thought that was a big show.
It's like one of the bigger ones here, but because they do it in a hotel, there's not really
Oh, okay.
enough room. We have Pleasanton Fairgrounds. That's where they should do it, and they could do something like Dayton there.
They could have had an antenna.
I thought
That
they
was the one
did.
thing
Didn't
have.
they have
they
an?
had a dummy load.
That's right.
just a
They
dummy
did.
one.
They did. That's
They,
right.
They had a dummy load and a watt meter, which is nice that they had that. I'm not complaining, but it would also have been nice to see if it received signals. So I had to use the N8YO antenna.
Raven, it was on my to-do list today. I'm getting my cabin soon, like tonight after this show. They've only got, how many cabins do they have?
You got to keep it on the down low, man.
14, 15?
13, 14, something like that.
Oh, we were in 13, and Michael was in 14, and there was no cabins after us, right?
And how many of the YouTuber guys were there in the cabins?
All of us.
Joe Brett was there, right? He was in one.
Well, we had T-Ray and T-Ray. I cannot remember your sidekick's name. Nice guy. I just don't remember his name. I'm terrible with names.
Ray T.
Yeah, exactly.
Ray T.
Ray T.
T-Ray and Ray T were in one side, and dude named Michael was on the other side of us. We were in like a little group of 3, and there were some onesies. But yeah, Joe Brett was in a cabin.
Joe Brett's wife go again?
Yes, she did.
She did.
Oh, nice.
And I just got to say, Joe Brett kicked way out of his coverage. Just
Pretty
saying.
little thing.
Sometimes
And we're
it happens.
above the age of 40, so we can actually tell a gentleman, a friend of ours, that his wife is pretty, and it's not offensive.
That's right.
Right. I don't remember who else was in the cabin. I mean, there's all the cabins were ham radio people, and
Well, I
most
figured
of them
that,
were
yeah,
most
or
and
most
most of them were YouTubers. Where did Frank? Frank wasn't in Jason's. Was Frank in a cabin?
He usually stays with Jason.
What about Kyle? Well, Jason's wife showed up, so I don't think Frank was staying.
I think Kyle was in a camper. Casey says large ham fest in Phoenix. Casey, Quartz site in January is a large ham fest, and then Yuma in February. I think Arizona might be trying to get one a month, so it's possible.
Yeah, Yuma.
And see, Arizona
You went to
in
that one,
that
didn't you?
time of year would be fabulous. You went to the Yuma one, didn't you?
I did. I went to Yuma. It's tough
Yeah,
though
I
because
couldn't
Quartzite
make it.
is in January, Hamcation is in February in Orlando, other side of the country, and then Yuma is back in February also. Awesome. Joe Brett's wife is watching tonight. How you doing?
How you
Good to see you
doing?
again.
How you doing? Yeah.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Well, chronologically, yes, we are all plus 40. Mentally, it varies. Just saying.
Frostfest, Richmond.
Oh, Plasma said Castler's not doing videos because he had dental surgery.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
cool
So
kids were in the
there's
campsites.
How you don't? How you?
So, Mike, did you bring a trailer? Were you down there in a campsite or a tent or what? I want to camp where there's air conditioning and flush toilets. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't. Did they have hookups at the camps?
Yes.
Probably not.
Yes.
Did they? Oh, really?
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah, they had
They
full hookups. They had buddy sites. They had primitive tent sites.
Yeah.
And then all the
What's
cabin
a
sites.
buddy site?
I think it's where there's two RVs in the same.
Oh, okay.
Where they might be
like
set up so that you
yeah.
face each other instead of
That's a little far for me to drive my motorhome, I think.
turlets. That's right. It is a long way for a motorhome.
I mean, Chuck, it's probably what 2,000 miles from California to here. I would guess.
Probably. I mean, drive my truck that far, it'd be cheaper to fly.
Yeah.
I'd just fly. I do like having my own stuff though, but it doesn't always happen.
You'd be better off with the cargo trailer. Easier to tow.
I take that to Course Fest, and I just got a shower put in the thing. I've had to do the hot water and a pan showers down there the last couple of years, or you go to the truck stop, But I'm got mine. It'll be dialed by this next year. Every year I get something else done.
That's the plan.
That is the plan. It is a plan, yeah. So did Mike say what he had? I don't know. He didn't say.
Yeah, the cabins at the campsite are like 120 a night, Jim. 114 a night.
114 with tax and fees and drama. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's certainly cheaper to find a couple of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They sleep too comfortably, and then if you're short like Carlos or Kyle, you can sleep on the couch.
You could probably get 3 or 4 people in there if they're all Carlos's size, right?
Yeah, and it's one double bed and one single bed. So also depends on how friendly you are.
Oh, right.
I mean, when I spent the night Thursday with Carlos, there was extra room in the bed for Carlos.
Awesome. And you're tall.
Mm-hmm. Bring a cat. Yeah, Jim, you didn't bring your cat.
No, I did not bring my cat.
A4MQ, is that
Matt Quince?
Matt? Yeah, I couldn't remember his call sign, but yeah, Matt's got a really nice camper actually. I think it was his dad.
Have you seen the one with the red truck?
Yeah,
because that's his, and then he was using his dad's before.
Oh, I think it wasn't that his dad's before though.
No, his dad said, "You're buying this." Hey, Josh.
Josh,
Hey,
good
Josh.
evening.
Yo. Yep, we were talking about you, Josh, about buying that. You almost got that Elecraft.
You mean this one?
Yeah. I don't know. He seemed interested.
I think he was.
Everybody was interested.
There was 3 or 4 of us. Somebody was buying that radio before we all left that guy. Yeah.
I actually might have bought that, to tell you the truth, because I've got a guy up the road from me, and that's all he'll buy is Elecraft stuff.
So, like I said, I was looking to see if I could get $1,000 ham shack at the Ham Fest, and the hardest part of that would be to get a radio that I didn't already have. So there was a lot of Kenwoods there that were in really good condition. A TS9, I want to say a 950.
Yeah,
and then
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
The Icom 7100, I would have taken that with a tuner. That would have been a good deal.
I had a 430 and a 440 TS 440, and Kenwood must have sold a ton of those radios because you see them for sale a lot. And
I cannot keep
up
up with the Kenwood model numbers because some of those don't have a tuner, right?
Right.
I have a TS 440 that's totally loaded. In fact, Mike would like that because it's totally loaded for CW too. It's got all the filters and everything in. I mean, he may have a better radio, but it would probably be a really good radio for CW. I actually my nephew is a new ham.
Oh shucks!
And I loaned that to him to use until he got something himself. That's what I have. 44 SAT, 440 SAT.
So that one was the SAT is because it's designed to work satellites, or the SAT is just what they called it.
I don't know. It was given to me.
Is it a shack in a box or just HF?
No, it's just HF. It doesn't even have 6, but
It stands for something else. It's
I
not
used,
satellite.
I used to, yeah, auto tuner. I think is what that SAT stands for.
Don't worry, Joe Brett. I will let it go to my head.
I used to hook it up every once in a while just to listen to it because it has a different sound, different sound than my Yaesu does, and I'd hook it up for a few weeks and run it once in a while.
Is that different sound because it has a different type of speaker and acoustics, or is it a different sound because it's receiving something that the other radios aren't?
Kind of the older technology sound. It just sounds, it's not as clean for one, but it was never in the same. It was never in the same class as a 3000 either. In its day, there was probably higher radios, So, but it doesn't have all the noise blanking stuff in it. Cool radio though. The thing actually, I think the guy that I got it from actually pumped it up just a little bit. That thing would do about 120 out. So we used it on field day one time and started getting, I don't know if it was just because we were better at the time, just better time of the day or whatever, but we started getting more contacts with it. So we left it hooked up.
I just got the last cabin at Montesano, folks.
That's why you were quiet?
That's why I was not talking to you people. That's right. I'm like, I got to get in here before these sons of guns do.
And he's going to start the bidding at $200 a night.
We are in cabin 14, Steve-O.
Okay. I guess I'm attending next year. It's been decided. Don, congratulations. 30-year anniversary as an extra class operator. I will catch up to you.
One day. I probably won't, Don.
Someday.
Statistically, I don't know.
That's cool.
All the cabins booked already.
Yes, it looks like, because I only came up with one.
Carlos, Jim, and I aren't doing anything that can't be interrupted in that cabin. So
that's right. You want to bust on in, you bust on in. Just bring booze.
You want a spot on the couch, you just let me know.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could stretch out on that couch. And cabin 14 is bigger.
That's the handicap cabin.
Yeah, that was the one Michael was in. We got a handicap cabin, so it's bigger. So maybe a bathroom where you could turn around in the bathroom at the same time.
You can always say you are handicapped, so.
He is.
I know.
So K5YBY is saying call and verify.
I will. I'll call tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh.
I'll call tomorrow.
Has there been problems with that?
They have a weird website.
Problems.
Yeah.
Well, it is Alabama.
But
I thought you were a general.
We have a reference number, and we're booked for Friday and Saturday night. I'm not even going to pretend to stay Sunday night this time.
Oh man, I put my foot in it one time, or the old foot in it. I said that getting the general is pretty easy, and some guy was like, I don't even remember if it was on a video or what. It chewed me out. I'm like, okay. I think it was on. I think it was at HRCC. Actually, she didn't think it was that easy.
You can just say ham. You don't need to say handicap. It's kind of redundant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same thing.
Emotionally and socially disturbed.
Yeah. Metro Atlanta Ham Man, you want to look up Long Island CW Club, and they will help you get your Morse code on, and they will treat you right and take good care of you. Good people.
Hey, Yusuf.
There at the Long Island CW, Long Island CW Club, LICW.
There's been quite a few. I think Josh has done it. Have you done one too, Tio?
I've done CW Academy, and then I've done a lot of like self practice. And I downloaded the Farnsworth method. It's available on YouTube. I'll have to get you guys a link for that. And I was listening to that in the car, and I'm like, I actually know a lot more of this than I thought I did.
Oh, cool.
I need to get back on the air and stop goofing off.
Yeah. You got to do it, I think, if you're gonna until you.
That's really what it comes down to.
I can't believe those cabins are all gone already. That's amazing.
Well, you were up here telling everybody to book them. They were probably booking them before you did.
Well, like Joe Brett and I remember Joe Brett saying he had booked it, and that was.
Yeah.
I mean, like in Joe, March or something? April, he knew. Maybe?
He booked it after the show was over last year. He's like, we're doing this again.
Yeah. No, he didn't book it last year in August. He booked it in the spring sometime, early spring. But I remember him saying it on Clubhouse or in a chat or something. I was like, that's a good idea. And I booked mine this year for this year.
Mm-hmm.
But according to their website, was it November? I could have sworn it was later than that, dude.
Yeah, Steven, my dad used to say that all the time, and we can't say that anymore. But you can, because you have the sticker that allows you to say it.
Steven, that is not even right. That's like Carlos and his bolt cutter jokes.
Yes. So Ape says he's got 4 cabins, so be on the lookout for a good smoking deal on those.
Ape says a lot of things. Abe says a lot of things.
Depends on how many Miller Lights he's had. I mean,
Right. Well, I believe he's been on restriction, too. I think Mrs. Ape has said no.
Yeah. Well, I can tell how many he's had by his typing sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Or by his memory or
and
lack
I'm not
thereof.
the best typer, but Ape's usually pretty good. And it's like, what does that mean?
Metro, you got 2 radios? I knew you got the 6100 because I saw your tweets earlier. So Yusuf's gotten him 2 new radios this week.
706 and a 6100. 706 is a nice radio. It's a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's in my shop.
Yusuf, I got a video for you on FT8 on the 706. Check it out.
There's like 3 models of those, isn't there? At least.
Yes.
The 706, the 706 Mark II, and the 706 Mark II G.
2G, yeah.
I think the first one doesn't have...
Doesn't have UHF.
Right, no UHF. That's the one I have, is no UHF.
That's what I've got. Same one, the 706, straight up. And I bought a digi-rig from Carlos. I can't remember. I bought it used from I think it was from Carlos. And so I could set up FT8 on that. And that's a to-do project I haven't even touched yet.
Yep.
And
you know what I'm interested the most of all the things you guys got is Steve's Elecraft. I want to hear that thing.
Well, I assume that there's going to be some YouTube videos coming on that, right? I know,
there
Charles.
will be.
I would. Well, he could have hooked it up in the cabin. Jesus Christ! Between me and Steve, we had every gadget, widget, thing, doodad, dingus that there was to have. Huh? I mean, power. We had power for 2
days.
Field days.
I had solar power and batteries, and then Jim had the 100 amp hour battery,
the Big Daddy,
and the 2,000 watt inverter.
Yeah, plus my battery box. Yeah,
is there no power in the cabins?
There is power, but the
there is.
Electrical outlets are extremely worn out. You put your cell phone charger in, and it just falls out of the outlet.
You gotta kind of wiggle it,
just
to get the plug to stay in. Yeah,
I want to see you wiggle it just a little bit.
It's not staying in; just wiggle it a little bit. Yeah, my CPAP kept wanting to fall out.
Yeah, your CPAP.
Hammond with style. Liberty's got it. You got to stick it to the tax man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been looking for a radio at all, but that Elecraft might have.
I'll get you on FT8 on any radio, Yusuf. You just let me know.
Oh yeah, he's the king. He got me squared away again. Well, actually, I think I fixed it myself this time.
Off-grid Texas Homestead. Tell us what's going on with that radio. I'd be interested in helping out.
Yeah, this could be a project for Nuggets one night.
I already have a radio. I don't know whether it works or not.
We could spend 2.5 hours fixing Off-Grid's 706.
Send it in. Yeah, send it in.
I mean, I can't promise anything, but we'll certainly take a good hard look at it. And then I'll send it to Jim, and he can put the scope on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Power supply I need to open up and figure out.
I won't know what I'm looking at necessarily, but I can put scope on it.
Right.
I think I burned it up on FT8 one night. Never heard the.
Well, that'll be easy to see. That'll be easy to see if you did that.
I haven't seen it, but I need to. I got that new microscope. I'll put it underneath that thing. You can see stuff with that.
So I got a little. Geez, I mean, it's like about the size of a pack of cigarettes. Oscilloscope at the show.
One Baofeng.
It's this big.
Width, and then thickness, it's about a half a Baofeng thick.
It's about this big, and it's a oscilloscope. It's actually a little thinner than this little box. And you need to. It's hard to read. So I was on Amazon the other day looking for magnification devices.
It's like a Yaesu, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is, Chuck. Yes, it is. Probably manufactured in the same plant right down the road. I wasn't going to say that, man.
Well, then
anyway,
it works.
It does work. And so I bought I'm officially old. I bought one of these magnifier screens. They pimp them to put your phone under so you can sit around with your family and watch a movie on your phone on this. It's like
That's an idea.
Fresnel
Yeah.
magnifier screen. Like it's on the back of a lot of old people's motorhomes.
Yeah.
And to set them on fire when you park the wrong way. Those things. So I got that so I could put that oscilloscope, that little baby oscilloscope underneath that Fresnel lens and read it. Because I don't think I have specs that are magnified enough
power,
otherwise.
That much magnifying power.
No, these are like 1.75 or something, and that thing is tiny.
I'm amazed with that scope actually magnifies, and I only had it on the first magnification in my video. It goes four more times.
Too bad Ape's not here.
Right.
This be fighting words, Yusuf.
Oh, yeah.
I know. And Yusuf, why are you done with the TX500? You don't like it, or it's surplus to your needs at this point because it's QRP and doesn't have a screen that's nearly as nice as the 6100. It sucks. Okay.
I hear the finals go out. I'm just saying. I've heard that.
Right.
Off grid, you are feeding a monster here, and that. Lord.
FT897 was on my list to get too. That would have been like a no blink buy right there. That's the radio to have. I can fix the screen problems. That's nothing.
Ape just got him a what is that thing?
The TX500. Lab 599.
That's the okay, yeah, Lab 599 is the company. That's right. Yeah. I mean, it's a gorgeous radio. That was the one that Ape, you ordered that and then got tired of waiting on it because they never shipped it or something, and you canceled it and then you bought it again or something.
He threw poo again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apes are known for flinging poo. Just saying. I mean, I'm not judging.
Josh, where was the 897? I didn't see that.
I didn't see one, but I wasn't really looking for one.
That's the bigger one, right?
No, the 897 is no, you're right. Sorry. The 857.
And 857.
The 857 is a
but
portable.
It's the
The 857
box.
the 857 is the one I want, not the 897. Sorry.
The 97, they actually
It's the same radio.
Yeah, but I think from what I understood, the actual draw on just receive is a little bit lower. It's one of the lower older radios out there, supposedly. And I checked my 857 is lower than an 891, but not much. Probably because the screen's so much bigger on the 891.
So
apparently
Yusuf
Yusuf was
6100 is better.
That's so apparently him and the 599 were walking down the street one day, and the 6100 was going the other way, and he's that meme where he's turning around.
Yeah.
Eyeballing the 6100.
Don said he saw some. Don probably has an 897. I know you just bought an 857.
I have an 847.
That's your sat radio, right?
Yeah, that's the one that's gonna.
That's a cool radio. Those are expensive these days. You got a good deal on that.
I did, and I've got a disc cone that I'm going to set up for it probably this weekend, and see how well that works. I mean, I'm not going to be able to track anything, but as they come over the horizon, I ought to be able to.
Dave's got it.
I still think Icom and Yaesu and Kenwood all ought to get in that 25 watt range radio like a G90. I mean, could you imagine?
What's the power on 705? Isn't it? Well, it's like 20 watts, isn't it? Or is it 10?
No, 5 and 10.
5 and 10.
Oh.
So Mike, I will put this out here since we do have to be equal opportunity offenders. The KX3 might have a worse situation going on than the 891 menus in the Yaesu, because every button on a KX3 is like 5 operations.
Yeah, there's a learning curve there. They're not that hard to learn though, but I'm not
like
sure
anything.
they even do alphabetical order, because a lot of radios will do that, but I'm not even sure it is. I found, when I set my KX2 up, I found some guy who'd had one because I bought mine like a couple years in, and some guy had a nice site, and he gave all the settings to kind of get you started, and I just copied all his stuff. And I'll tell you what, I make contacts with that thing. It's about 12 watts if you're running a spare battery.
Oh, he's gone all in. I invited another ham on the show. He may or may not show up. I don't know.
Tonight?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of past the new radio thing and into unknown territory. There he goes.
It'll be interesting to see what both
geez.
of those new radios. Yeah, are you gonna let him in?
I
we
wasn't
need a
going to let him in.
We need a replacement. We need a replacement anyway for Ape, and I mean,
So, Carlos,
You know,
he's
tell us
more
about your
entertaining than
greatest
Ape.
ham radio achievement. And
I
your-
wanna
your
hear-
biggest
tell-
ham radio failure.
That's
the
right.
thing
Tell
is-
us the
The
story.
thing is, I'm far better looking than Ape, and I don't drink shit. Sorry, craft beer.
Hey, we are monetized.
Swear
dude.
jar. Swear jar.
Got it.
I'll throw you $1. Don't worry. That'll make up for 100 views.
I'm watching. I'm waiting.
He probably
I don't
will.
see it yet.
You guys hear my dog?
Good evening, ladies. Good evening.
Good evening, buddy. So tell us how your Hamfest experience was.
I have
Because you
nothing
keep
to say.
teasing everybody in the chat, so it's like, come on.
What am I teasing about? I mean, I'm not teasing anything about anyone.
That's what we want to know. We don't. We're teased.
No, I mean, I did a thing, right? And technically, the bro code demands that I atone for it.
That's right. That's right.
Rounds.
You
I
got me interested now.
Next year. Huntsville next year.
I bought a radio without asking,
Oh,
and it used to be Jim's, and I didn't
Yep.
ask before I bought.
That's right. Steve bought my
broker-
ex.
The bro code demands that I ask before I buy his X. So there you go.
I
Ken
sold
was-
my radio to Ken. I
Yeah,
keep wanting
Ken.
to call him Kyle. Ken. I sold my radio to Ken last year, my 7300, when I was buying the 7610.
Yeah.
And Ken was a nice kid, and he was all about buying it. He thought it was a great deal. I thought it was a great deal.
True.
And it was.
Well,
And,
no. And let's be fair. You bamboozled the kid.
Did not bamboozle him.
And he's
Google
not-
works for him just as well as it works for anybody else.
And he's not sharp enough to know when he's being taken advantage of. I know because I took advantage of him.
Yes, you did.
So did
Not-
Jim.
So I did not take advantage of him. He paid a fair, honest price. See, I went full Chicago when I said honest there. I'm getting
That's-
angry.
that's-
I'm going into Chicago.
That's Capone speak for.
Don't make me go south side and show you the Chicago way.
South side.
Anyway,
So, yeah.
I sold the kid the radio and he was happy with it. Now it's your turn.
And
Tell us
that,
the
that
rest.
was my turn. Basically, he lost his turn. See?
Right.
No, that's not tracking with you. Fine, that's fine. Brian, of course, the bro code applies to equipment. Don't you
That's
know?
That's right.
Especially ham equipment. Brian, you're fired.
I mean,
Right.
come on, Brian.
Take his card.
Listen, I name my cars, and my cars are all female name. If you're going to buy my car, you need to have permission.
He lets
Same
me
thing with my
operate his
radio.
radios. He won't let me drive his car.
See, like with the KX2 situation, we're all standing around. I saw it first, so it was technically she was my girl at that point. And I told Steve,
Gotta pull the
No.
trigger, man.
nope. Oh, I can pull the trigger, Chuck. I can pull the trigger. I'm quick. Believe me, at my age, I'm very quick. But
Quick. Very quick.
boom,
Sure.
These jokes write themselves, folks.
makes me happy. So I'm like, no, Steve, if you want her, you take her. Because if Steve wasn't
Consenting
going to
adults.
if Steve wasn't going to get her, Josh, you tell me if I'm wrong, but Josh was right behind, and somebody was one of the three of us was leaving with that radio.
I will tell you that Elecraft is a good radio, but I got to say a good 50% or more of it is that Jim didn't get it and Josh didn't get it.
If I had seen that Elecraft, I would have bought it. And I'm not it's not that I'm not a fan. It's just that model, I prefer the 3, right? Not the 2. And that model, but at that price, man, that's a deal all day long.
Prescott, you're right.
Exactly. Prescott is Prescott understands. I'll spin my thing.
Yep, I thought you were. Josh had that serious. I'm going to buy a radio
He
face on.
did look pretty serious.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's she's sitting in the garage. She's running FT8 right now. We'll see what she yields. I'm planning on doing a video on it, comparing it to the 991A side by side from the same feed line. How do you like that?
There you go.
So
we got to meet Jeff.
Yes.
At the Huntsville
Well, you got to
Ham
meet
Fest.
Jeff. I already
I
met
got
Jeff.
to meet Jeff. I had never met Jeff. I met Jeff.
His fabulous friend.
Got to meet Jeff. Met Josh. Met Mike, N8YO. He's a nerd.
Oh, you're on 20 meters, Carlos. You're doing really good.
I'm not transmitting anything.
No, but
Did
you're
you?
listening.
Are you using the preset? Are you using the preset on it? The FT8 preset, or have you messed with that at all?
I'm using the FT8 preset. Mind you, that is
Carlos
two
is here in
radios.
the world.
That is two radios receiving at the same time on the same antenna. And what I'm running is a video to compare the receive on each one.
Okay.
Right. So theoretically, you take the antenna out of the mix because you're feeding them from the same source. What are the difference between the two radios?
Why
How
don't
are
you put
duplexing
whisper?
the coax?
Say again?
How are you duplexing the coax?
On a T.
Okay.
So and the tail that goes from the T to the radio is the same exact length, same exact make and model. Right.
Okay.
So
You're trying to eliminate everything. Yeah.
I'm trying to minimize the amount of what if situations there. So I'm letting it run for a minute. You know, I'm letting it run for a few days because I haven't had time to make the video that I want to make. But I'm finding it interesting that there are times when one radio listens better than the other, and for a streak of time, right? And you think, okay, that radio is better, and then out of nowhere, the other radio flips the script, and I find that to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
So
you know, the 991 actually, I read an article on it. The first actual receive on that is not real high compared to other radios until you hit the first amp.
Yeah,
and then it's like, about the same.
The first preamp, without the first preamp, I may as well not have a radio.
Oh, then you probably had the same problem I had then. If you don't hear anything on the first before the preamps, then you're probably blowing the same thing.
With no preamp, you better be booming for me to hear you. Excuse me, because there's
before I broke mine. That mine was really good, especially out on POTUS and stuff. But then all of a sudden one day I'm out there testing antennas and I can't hear anybody. I figured the band was dead, you know, because usually when I build an antenna, I go out to test it, it's usually dead. And then the second time it happened, and I'm like, well, that's weird. That's 2 times in a row, you know, a week apart. And I happened to have my 705 there, and I hooked it up, and it's like, oh wait, the 705's here, and then I hit the amp 1, and it was like, oh, it's there now, you know.
Yeah.
So you may have blown that same resistor. I got an extra.
It's entirely possible. And I saw your video, and it's on my list of things that I need to pop mine open and test and see.
All you got to do is hook it up and find a fairly, even a strong signal won't come through.
No, I can get a strong signal through, not a problem. But without a preamp, like FT8, on preamp one, let's for the sake of argument, on preamp one,
Kevin?
I might have 15 signals on FT8. On no preamp, I'll have one.
I saw that
on what
a
radio?
lot on the 991.
It is like attenuated some compared to most radios, and that's because supposedly this is what I read in an article. I don't know if the guy really knew what he was talking about, but it kind of made sense. A lot of people think it's not it doesn't have a good receive, but it's built that way. So that it's a little easier on your ears on the higher stuff. I don't know if the guy really knew what he was talking about, but I did notice it. But I have it sitting next to my 705, and they're within a S unit of each other usually.
Now I do know one thing about the 991. Two things about the 991A. Number one, that noise reduction on that 991A is awesome. Holy crap, is it awesome!
Yep.
All right,
and that's not even dialed up to 10 awesome. It's like on 3 or 4. It's like that's about as much as I need. But it also has the same problem that a 7300 has. If you do FT8 into a dummy load, it does not work.
What?
I mean, apparently it's a flaw from all Japanese radios. If you try an FT8 into a dummy load, they will not work.
Didn't Carlos make one contact though on his dummy load?
I don't think I did. I
thought you made one comment.
Let me
So
see if I
the
can
other thing
find.
that people do with their FT8, this bar over here, if I hover over it long enough, and I get the tooltip that pops up. 30 dB recommended when only noise is present, green when good, red when clipping may occur, yellow when too low. So a lot of people like to run this slider in this 30%, 30 dB range. I always try to tune mine so that it's just below the red, and I do decode more signals that way. And you tune that with the RF gain knob on your radio.
Mm-hmm.
So you can turn up the
why
RF
don't you
gain, which would
That's
bring
where
more
I
signals in.
when I ran WSJTX. That's where I was running it. Was up there around 60.
Right where the
yeah.
you just don't want it to go red ever.
Right.
Oh, I think I actually run mine just below around 50 or so.
But
40s,
people will read
50.
that tooltip that pops up, and they'll go, "Oh, okay, so I want to keep it around 30." And that's you can keep it around 30. You're sending your signal out. People are replying to you, and you're not hearing their replies. So you're making the other side angry.
Now Mike says he sets that for about 50 to 70%. So he's in the same ballpark that we're at.
Yeah,
with
that's
that.
where I'm
And
at.
I mean, if only
ACL.
Mike knew anything about FT8.
So check that out. That is the same antenna being fed to two different radios. Look at the waterfall and look how different they are. Is that wild or what?
But that's the
That is
same
interesting.
computer. So you've got a couple of factors in there. You're talking about USB sound cards, right?
Yes, they're both USB sound cards.
Same model.
Same. It's the radio.
The one built into the radio.
Built into the radio.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
So where I was going is it could also be a sound card quality issue. I don't know. They both run I don't know if they're running the same TI chip inside or not.
I think they are, but I'm not certain.
That's a popular chip.
So
And I mean, look at the difference in receive on those two radios.
we are looking at two different computers running WSJTX, right?
Same computer. Same computer.
So you're running two instances. Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
So-
Carlos, you are living La Vida Loca there, man. That's cool.
Right.
They look pretty equal as far as the signals, but it looks like the top one is a little bit stronger.
And the thing is, I'm trying to make sure that what I've done is I've gone through the radios and checked that the relative settings are either the same or as close to the same as I can get them. Right. So, for example, the FT991A, it doesn't listen very well without a preamp. So preamp 1 is turned on. So in order to be fair, I turned on the preamp 1 on the 7300.
So it's
Now,
a
see, I
7300
never-
versus a 991A, just for those playing at home.
I never ran the preamp on either one when I was doing FT8.
So
I never used to either until mine didn't work.
the levels on the sound are tuned so they both are giving about the same dB reading. I realize that the dB reading that I'm using is a little too hot. It's just above 70 dB. But I wanted to just get them as close as I could for the sake of comparison. So I've got them as close as I can get them. I think I'm still going to go through them a couple more times to make sure that I'm giving each radio a fair shake.
So Mike has an interesting point. Can you mess with the bottom one just a little bit? I mean,
That would invalidate the control, though.
well, I mean, are they literally the same? I can't read that screen. That's way too small for my eyeballs to read. Is your gain and everything set identical on them? Did you move the slider, or is it numerically the same? Is what I'm asking.
They're both maxed out on the RF gain, right?
Okay.
So I'm making them as close to par to each other as I can. I realize that there are two different manufacturers and making two different sets of menus and
You've got to equalize as many variables as you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'm doing, Mike. I'm using the raw signal report dB readings, not just the waterfall, but I'm using the raw signal report dB reading. And at first, I thought, oh, wow, this one radio is better than the other radio. There's constantly better readings on the one than over the other. And then you wait 2 or 3 hours and come back to it, and it's flipped the other way around. You're like, what in the world is going on here?
Yeah, import the all.log file and grab the call sign and the signal report from both of them, because you should have the same call sign, the same signal. Well, not the same signal report. Same call sign, different signal report, same timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
on each radio,
Yep.
and then compare the two of those
Yes,
in
Arnold.
a spreadsheet and graph that. That would be pretty awesome.
Oh,
that's
yes.
gonna
be- that's-
Oh,
that's
I see
part of
where
it.
he's going. That's
Right.
genius.
That's part of it, right? So
Yeah.
this is a video that just started to happen in my brain on
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday.
This takes weeks to build. I get it.
And I'm just trying to get them as close to par as I can get them, so that I can give the radios a fair shake, right? Because it's not fair for me to have the preamp on one and the preamp off on the other,
Right.
right? So, yeah,
From that article that I read, when you go to preamp one on like the 7300 and the 991, they're fairly the same receive then as far as the radios, different makers. But with no preamp, the 991 is designed not to have as much receive for some reason.
Canada Joe, good evening, brother.
Hey, how you doing, Joseph?
Man, I ain't seen you in a
long time.
hot minute, son. That's
Yeah.
Southern.
So, Carlos, message me offline about this. I have one more thing that might help you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about getting, and this is a winter video for me. It's
Yeah.
it is summer. I'm not about spending time doing this when I can be doing summer type things like
Right.
jumping.
jumping out of airplanes. Not to beat a dead horse, but I think I'm a 1.5 trick pony, and that's
A half. You're awful
Yeah.
proud of yourself, aren't you?
yes, I am. I can POTA and make videos too, pal. I didn't say that we're good videos. Just said make videos.
Okay.
So, and for those of you that are inevitably going to say, "Well, your CPU load," no, CPU load has nothing to do with it. Look at
Yeah,
the test.
The CPU load's going to be even anyway. You've got two apps. It's whatever. The CPU
Exactly.
It's 50-50. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's
If
50-50.
if it were a Pi running 2 instances of WSJTX, it'd be a different story, right?
Well, I mean, it would
even
be
then,
half
you
the
get-
performance, but it would be equally
Yeah.
half the performance. Is
Exactly.
What I'm getting at.
So
It's always going to be 1 over the number of instances, no matter what CPU is. Yeah.
So there
No,
you go.
and you're getting. I mean, you're getting what looks close to the same amount of decodes.
Yeah, and the thing is, decodes are happening sometimes in the same cycle, so in the same order, and sometimes they're happening off cycle. So, you'll get USA, Canada, USA on one, and then you'll get USA, Canada, USA on the other, and they're exactly the same signals, but they're being the decoding is happening offset.
Are your clocks?
Yes.
Your clock. Well, you're using one computer, so
Only
it's
one
a
computer.
clock. Yeah.
So the
Why
clock
are your
is-
frequencies? Why are your frequencies different?
So
Why are your frequencies different?
The one that says 14182, the top left.
Yeah.
the for some reason that is not refreshing right now. All I have to do is do this here, and it'll pop it right back in. It is the radio is on the correct frequency, but
Well, I thought it must be because it's working, but I was.
so
'cause
what
that's
happened?
up in the extra band somewhere.
So what happened was I was earlier today. So I'm missing 4 states in work all states for Parks on the Air. I have a ham alert set up for them. Go watch Steve's video. KO4AFL has a great video on it. And anyhow, an alert came through for Hawaii, and I made a beeline to the shack. And the thing is, thankfully, I don't have to worry about it. All I have to do is just turn the knob, get rid of the data portion, and try to make the contact.
Steve and I kept flipping that. I'm trying to turn it on. Steve's trying to turn it on.
KC4, KC3PIB. I need to make a note of that, Chris. Hang on.
Yeah.
KC3,
That's why we were both trying to put it up there because Chris is saying, "Hey, I can help you with that."
KC.
Aussie Ham Radio. Hello.
Good day, mate. Or tomorrow because
Oh.
it's tomorrow and down there.
Mhm.
Him and
Tomorrow
Rolly are from
evening.
the future.
Yes, they
Tomorrow
are.
morning.
So, anyhow, it's an odd duck
Don,
Just-
see you, brother.
to see this kind of stuff happen. See you, Don.
So the decodes being out of order does
See you,
not
Don.
bother me one bit. I totally agree with that.
For me, it's the CPU cycle got hung up or whatever. Not a big deal.
No,
So long as
it's an audio. So keep in mind that the FT8 signal is 3 kilohertz wide. Inside of 3 kilohertz, you have individual chunks of 50 hertz.
Mhm.
So the computer is just decoding what it feels like decoding at that moment. I don't think it's a. I think you're thinking serially, and the computer's operating parallelly, and whatever comes out the end of the parallel process is what you get.
I'm in total agreement.
Yeah.
I'm in total agreement. It's just that I find it interesting that they're not synchronized, right? It's just an interesting bit.
It's interesting, yeah,
Right?
but it's explainable in my head.
Yeah, absolutely explainable. In any case, when I turn the knob, for some reason, the 7300 is not updating live. It knows that, hey, I went off, I went off frequency, and it catches one of the frequencies as I'm scrolling through, but it doesn't catch them all. And basically, I can return the dial back to the correct frequency, but it won't update in WSJTX. So anyhow, that's
cool.
that's a winter project video for me. That's going to be kind of probably 1 or 2 videos. Don't know where it's going to lead. It may lead to absolutely nowhere. There may be like that bridge in Alaska.
Right.
But
that's pretty cool.
It's something that just like out of nowhere just kind of grabbed my attention. I was like, oh, because I was running them on separate antennas, and my brain said, well, this is not a fair shake. How do I do this? And I've realized, oh, I have a T. I can
So
one
of them was on your Nebula and one was on something else?
I don't have a Nebula. And at this point in time,
that's
I'm
right. There was that incident.
It's on its way from jolly old England.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, there's a new Nebula coming from jolly old England. But I had one on the DX Commander Poda Expedition, and I had the other one on my Skyloop. And that was a clear, wow, the Skyloop listens so much better because I can move the Skyloop from one radio to the other, and instantly the receive gets way better on the other radio. Right. But my brain's like, this is not a fair shake, right? Different antennas, different feed lines, whatever. And then I remembered, oh, in the box of tricks, I have a T because it was, I have a T. I was going to make a phased antenna. Never ended up making it. I can put that T in from the feed line and then run 2 similar pigtails to each radio and get a head-to-head comparison on the radios. Right. I think it's, there are websites out there. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a website out there that has every single radio.
Camera, Jim.
She's drives me crazy.
There's a website out there with every single radio and the receives and so on and so forth. It's like statistically tested and blah, 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 right? And it's one thing to see laboratory results versus real world results, right? And I'm a real world guy, so I prefer this.
Rolly, if you're looking for FT8, there's not a park nearby me, and I don't really have anything set up to go find a park. I mean, I'd have to hunt for one. There's a wildlife management area, but if I get mistaken for a feral hog, which some of these hillbillies might do.
Easy mistake. Yeah, I can see that.
Shut up. It's my joke, jerk. But I mean, if you need an FT8 contact or something, I'll jump on there anytime because I can remote in the radio from work or whatever too. So yeah, I don't know about a P2P. Oh, okay, yeah.
Mike and 8YO, there is no transmit on either one of these. This is just receive right now. Yeah, the microphones are disconnected. The only way there's going to transmit is if I hit the go button on either one of those WSJTX, and I'm not going to do that. But yes, that was a concern of mine. I'm like, how do I do this without messing up my radios? So.
All right. Boys, it's almost 9 o'clock.
It is time to go. Thank you, Carlos, for the preview. That is going to be an amazing video series.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
The 905 looks like a pretty fun radio to play with. It'd be even more fun to play with it if I had Jim's money.
That's right.
Jim's money is
you and me
fine.
both one.
And Derek, I expected better from you. I mean, you haven't been hanging out with these knuckleheads as long as I have. I thought you were super cool until now. Now you're just like Carlos Felix that's in Florida with a different name. Or banjos. Always the banjo joke. That was Georgia, man, and I'm from Chicago.
Aintree.
Chicago.
No.
Chicago.
Chicago Chicano.
What was I going to say? I don't remember now.
You were going to say 73 all.
Yeah.
7-3, everybody.
73,
Guys,
everybody.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening.